Hello beautiful friends, my name is Katie, and the other day I was scrolling through YouTube when a new video popped up from MsMojo.com, and it was all about thrifting tips and hacks, and I was just like, ooh, yes. So I clicked on it immediately, and then I thought, I want to share my tips on this video because, as you guys know, I am a full-time thrifter, thrift flipper, and I also have experience actually working in a thrift store, so I thought that would be a unique perspective. So let's watch this video.
Number 10. Consider soiled or dirty items. One of the first things to keep in mind when thrifting is that first impressions can be deceiving. It's easy to pass over a pair of sneakers or a piece of wood furniture because they're seemingly covered in a layer of grime.
I find this video interesting. I guess they're doing it in a backwards order, so it's like a countdown video, considering stained or soiled clothing would be their number 10. Maybe that's just in my brain. I'm like, if that's what you're gonna start with, you're probably gonna turn a lot of people off thrifting because it just is kind of gross. There's always a moment where you look at an item and you can see like exactly what the person wearing it would have been doing, and that part just makes it super gross. So I find that interesting just from like a video standpoint that they were like, number 10 considered stained items, ha ha ha. But you're just like, ugh, ugh. I have made a ton of videos on how to clean stained clothing that you get from the thrift stores. I will link it up here and also in the description down below. If you do find a piece of clothing that you absolutely love, chances are there is actually a way to save that article of clothing, but it also depends on how much that article of clothing cost initially or how vintage it is. So for instance, I will never hesitate to buy a wedding dress that is stained because a lot of times those stains actually come out of that material. And also if you're going to be cutting up like a prom dress or a wedding dress to refashion it, who actually cares if it's stained? If it's something like a sweatshirt like this and it has a bleach stain, but you're planning on bleaching it anyway, then go for it. If it's something that's super vintage, like a vintage band t-shirt, maybe having a couple stains on it doesn't really matter because that's part of the aesthetic. I don't know why you'd buy something super plain that already has tons of stains on it, because chances are, like in cotton materials, those might not actually come out.
Number 9. Learn to haggle. While some thrift store items are sold as is and the prices are not negotiable, lots of both large and small stores are willing to negotiate if an item is ripped, stained, or damaged in any way. Consider this technique if you find something you really love that's a little out of your price range. Used items are typically imperfect in some way, so it shouldn't be hard to find a scratch or tear.
Haggling. Oh, haggling. But for number 9, their tip is that you can haggle over items, and maybe it's the way they're phrasing it that's like extremely triggering me. And we always joke like, we're not at a yard sale. No, you can't haggle. This might also depend on what type of thrift store you're in. So in my area, I've never really heard of like haggling being an option, but most of the thrift stores in my area are non-profits and all of the proceeds go to charities. So that makes it a little bit harder for the concept of haggling to come in play. If you're haggling, you're kind of being a cheap jerk because you're taking away from proceeds that would go to charities. So maybe this one just depends on what type of thrift store you're at. I guess they are correct that if you find a garment that is stained or ripped or whatever, you can always ask the cashier like, hey, do you guys offer any discounts for items? I found this item that I love, but it was ripped or whatever. Because I've had that happen where someone came up with a purse and like the handle was clearly ripped off and the purse might be $10 and they're like, is there anything you can do? I like this, but I'd have to get it fixed. Those are okay. In general though, I would say please try not to haggle with the employees. It's more annoying for them than you can even imagine. And a lot of times people will come up and they'll be like, this item's too expensive. And as the employee, you're kind of like, I don't make these rules. I can't really do anything about it. And you giving me a hard time just is more stressful than I can even describe. I can also tell you that at least in my area, any of the big box thrift stores do not haggle. They do not lower prices. I've gone up before and said like, hey, this has a huge stain on it. And they've said to me, well, you can either buy it full price or we're going to throw it away, but we're not going to give it to you cheaper. So that one was like, oh, okay, that's okay. That's the thing. I do still want this item though. But part of the trick is that if you go to a lot of the local or small ones, try and get to know the employees or the manager or whoever. It might be easier for them to help guide you. So for instance, if you do know the manager and you shop there all the time and you're super nice, that's part of this caveat. You're super nice and friendly to them, they may be able to help you out on items that are stained or ripped or torn. No guarantees.
Number 8, follow stores on social media. One of the best ways to be among the first to know about awesome new finds is by following your local thrift stores on Facebook, Instagram, or any other social media platform where they keep active. While some stores may not have a significant social media presence, others frequently post photos of newly stocked items.
Ooh, follow stores on social media. Yes! Yes, because a lot of times they're going to be posting those new items and they may have a system where they post the item and people can tag that they want it or call in for the item, and those items might never even hit the sales floor. So you might be missing out on things that you might really, really want that have already gone kind of quickly because of the social media pages. I also always encourage stores to, one, have social media pages, and two, for people to follow them, because this is going to give you things like weather updates for inclement weather or holiday hours. I know this sounds super silly, but a lot of times these smaller local businesses might not be able to update their Google results all the time. So if you're following them, you're able to see things like, hey, we're going to be closed on Memorial Day, or hey, our hours are limited because of snow, or whatever. So definitely, if the store has a social media, follow it. Doesn't hurt you. It's free. Speaking of free things, you guys can also follow along by subscribing to my channel. And if you haven't yet, please hit that big thumbs up button because it means so much to me, and also just helps the YouTube algorithm do whatever it does in the background. And again, it would just mean a lot and I would really appreciate it. On to the next tip.
Number 7, look for things to revamp. Sometimes you have a specific vision in mind for an outfit or home decor item, but you can't seem to find the perfect used version of it. Luckily, with a little creativity, almost anything you find at a thrift store can be completely revamped.
Look for things to revamp. I can't imagine why I would ever think that one's a good idea. I'm gonna leave a playlist here of thrift store items and revamps, and also in the description in case you guys want to follow along. I revamp clothes, I revamp furniture, so I'm definitely on board for the revamping of products. You guys know that. 10 out of 10, MsMojo.
Number 6, donate for coupons. If you are a regular thrifter, it's likely you have some things to donate after a while. Luckily, many stores offer incentives for giving donations, including coupons and discounts.
Donate for coupons. I'm not sure where MsMojo is located out of or where the writers are. I have never heard of any thrift store in my area, at least, doing the donate for coupons. Maybe that's a thing. I don't know. That's kind of cool. I know the bigger thrift stores in my area do like punch cards for purchases. So I think it's something like if you spend $20 per purchase, they'll punch it, and then after 4 visits, you get 20% off your next purchase. So I've heard of that part. I haven't heard of the donation part. Doesn't hurt to ask. That one I'm okay if you want to ask. I just haven't really encountered that one. If you ever go into a thrift store that you've never been into, ask them, do they have any daily specials? Is there anything you should look out for? My favorite thrift store has literally daily specials every single day.
Number 5, learn how to recognize high-quality, valuable items. One of the biggest mistakes that beginner thrifters make is focusing on finding brand name items from companies with lots of name recognition.
This tip I actually found kind of confusing because it's kind of against what I would say, where I would say look for what you want versus necessarily high quality or whatever. That's just always kind of in the background for me. This one definitely depends on if you're a flipper or reseller, or if you're just a normal person wanting to buy stuff for yourself. Because if you're the normal person just wanting to buy stuff for yourself, buy what you like, and it doesn't matter if it's from Nordstrom or if it's from Walmart. It doesn't really matter how high quality it is if you don't like it or if you're not gonna wear it. And then on the flip side, if you're a reseller, that's just a totally different ball game entirely, which I am not qualified to talk about, so I won't go there. But I always suggest, like, if you're buying for yourself, going into thrift stores and looking for the brands that you already like and already know first, because that's a great way to like dip your toe in. But obviously if you went into a thrift store going like, I want a nice heavy wool coat, that one probably doesn't matter which brand you get necessarily. You can just literally touch the item and feel it and go like, I like the way this one feels aesthetically. It doesn't feel like it's been washed incorrectly 17 times and the linings are too short and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know, go with what you like first, especially if you're new to thrifting.
Number 4, wear the right clothes. When shopping for clothes, it's always important to dress carefully and consider what you might be trying on at the store. This is especially true if you're looking for something specific. For example, if you're hoping to find a dress to wear to junior or senior prom or an upcoming summer wedding, consider heading out with a strapless bra and seamless underwear, as well as the heels you might wear with the outfit.
Wear the right clothes is so important. I would definitely agree with this tip, especially right now because dressing rooms are closed in most thrift stores. Now, some thrift stores do have the policy where they ask you to not try on clothes. I don't really get why, because these are all donated. Thrift stores don't clean their clothes between you donating them and us putting them out on the thrift store. So that part doesn't make sense to me, whatever. But if they do allow you to try them on but don't have dressing rooms, you can always put clothes on over what you're already wearing. So for instance, what I used to tell people is wear a tank top, a thin tank top, and like biker shorts. We know that's in style right now. And that way you can try on skirts, you can try on dresses, you can try on a lot of tops and be able to get a general sense of if this item is going to fit you correctly. I'm also going to link in the card above my video about how to know if clothes will fit and how to take your measurements before you leave home so that you can measure things in the store. It is so helpful. I can't tell you how many times a day I hear, I really like these pants, but I don't know if they would fit me. You can tell if these pants would fit you if you measure them at home first. I know it's not a perfect science, but it's like 90% effective of figuring out if clothes will fit you before you leave your house. But I do think this is a great tip. Make sure you're wearing the correct clothes when you go out, especially if you want to try stuff on.
If you're trying to find a blazer for an upcoming interview, wear the rest of the outfit that you'll be pairing it with. Keep in mind you might not be able to try on your future purchases in a dressing room because not all thrift stores have them.
Oh, I love this tip about if you're going to a job interview or something that you would want to wear like the rest of your pieces of your outfit to match. That tip is perfect. 10 out of 10.
Number 3, learn vintage sizing. While many of the items you'll find at a thrift store were likely produced more recently, some vintage clothing stores stock plenty of items that are decades old.
Especially because a lot of the vintage pants styles are coming back into play. And this is one where you can kind of get a guideline of what size you think you would be. They're kind of right. Like, I'm roughly a size 6 in modern clothes, and that translates to a like size 12 or 14 vintage style. But this one again is one where if you simply know your exact measurements for what you're looking for, having that measuring tape or having your arm as a guide is a perfect way to hold up any pair of vintage clothing and go, my waist is 20 inches across and this is only 19. This is not going to fit me. Or if you know the rise in the pants, then you're going, hey, I like these vintage pants, but I prefer a 9-inch rise and this one only has a 7-inch. Again, knowing the measurements you prefer is so critical in shopping, especially when you can't try stuff on. 1 inch to a 1/2 inch is something that is so difficult to eyeball in the store, but if you have your measuring tape, you can know for sure like, hey, this is gonna hit me at my belly button and it's gonna be perfect, versus this is gonna hit me like at that weird squishy part where I never feel comfortable. It always hurts my tummy. Like, nobody wants that. And also vintage clothing, as we know for women, can be anywhere in the size spectrum. And also clothing oftentimes is miscut. So it might say that it's a 12 and it could be a 2, it could be a 15. You just never know. So bringing your measuring tape is key.
Number 2, ask about restock days. One of the best ways to ensure you're able to snag the highest quality vintage finds is by figuring out when your local store replenishes its stock.
This is a great tip. Most thrift stores I found actually restock constantly, but that's something that most employees who work there should know. They should know off the top of their head if the store is restocking as you speak, or if they actually do have certain days they put out things. For instance, in the past, the store that I like to go to used to have the policy where they put out books every Thursday, or they put out jewelry every Thursday, and they wouldn't restock in between, so you would know if you wanted the new stuff on jewelry to go in on Thursday morning. Now they just restock it constantly, so that doesn't actually matter anymore. But I would definitely ask your favorite stores, like, do you guys specifically restock furniture on a certain day, or does everything just come out whenever it's donated?
Number 1, check the label. One of the best skills that expert thrifters possess is the ability to read and understand clothing labels. Material labels will tell you all about the fabric makeup, which is a great way to find high-quality items. If that is indeed your goal, then you should focus on natural materials like cotton, wool, leather, and suede. There are also some useful websites that can help you out while you shop. Check out the label resource from Vintage Fashion Guild, which lets you match the actual labels you're trying to identify with photos of vintage labels from different brands and different eras.
Okay, check the labels is fine. For me specifically, this doesn't actually matter as much because, again, I'm looking for things that I'm going to upcycle, or I'm looking for things that I just want to wear as is. I do love that they've added a resource so that you can easily check labels while you're out and about at thrift stores. This isn't something that I necessarily concentrate a ton on. One of the things they talk about is high quality products and also how to know if the fabric is good. This one, these guys are your best friend because you're gonna feel items and go like, oh, this is wool. It might be really high quality, but if you're touching it and you're like, oh, I can't, it's so itchy, it's so horrible. It doesn't matter if that thing is from freaking Gucci or Prada. If you're never gonna wear it because it's itchy, it doesn't matter how good a quality that wool is. Does not matter. So checking the label to me really is kind of, I guess, personal preference. The only time I really do it is if I'm, say, going to dye a material, or if I'm trying to figure out if I can easily wash it. I might look at something going, okay, it's 100% cotton, it's gonna be perfect for tie-dyeing. So how'd MsMojo do overall? I think this list is pretty helpful. I don't know if it was targeted at thrifters who thrift a lot, or if it's targeted at people who are beginning in their thrift store journey, or if it's targeted at people like me who just wanna confirm that they're doing awesome anyway. And I mean, their tips are good. I will definitely have to check out, though, their list of labels. I think that's just a really cool resource. It might be really cool, too, when people are asking me specifically about stuff, and I have no idea. I'll look at labels, and, like, I can look and go, hey, I know this is old. I know it's vintage, but I don't know how old it is. I don't know how vintage it is. So I think that's definitely a cool tip and trick. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, if you haven't already, please give it a big thumbs up because it just means a lot to me, and I love you guys so much. I hope you guys have an absolutely fantastic week, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!